Whether you are celebrating a victory, commemorating a loss, or emphasizing a fiery belief, most tattoos are of small or great significance to the one who wears it. We carry this ink for the rest of our lives, so it's no wonder that most often than not we want to make it count. I would never disregard that. I even see value and meaning to such an extent that I would never roll my eyes about the 139th infinity sign I see. Sure, symbols like these are quite overused by now, but even though they hold a generalized and universal symbolism, they still have a personal meaning that makes perfect sense for every single individual that wears it. Humans have always been like this. We use art as a substitute for words, as a means to express feelings that seem otherwise inexpressible, or even as a magic spell of sorts. Take the cave drawings of Lascaux, for example, that might also have been created to trap game in that area as a stable food source. Memories, tributes, and bind magic are all great reasons to get a tattoo. But I think that a specific story shouldn't be your only incentive for considering one. One of the reasons to choose a purely aesthetic tattoo is that meaning changes. What has been an important symbol to you at one point in your life might not hold the same significance years later. Your interests, beliefs, and values can change over time. And the same goes for the meaning behind your tattoos. For example, you might get a tattoo of your favorite singer in your early 20s, and it's an essential symbol for you at that time. However, as you get older, your taste in music might change drastically, and thus the tattoo might not mean as much to you anymore as it once did. Or worse, say your favorite singer makes some really questionable life decisions that you would like to separate yourself from as far as possible. This doesn't mean that the tattoo was a mistake or that it wasn't meaningful at one point in your life. It just means that the meaning behind it has evolved over time and thus becomes somewhat irrelevant. Or it may even become a point of annoyance because you regularly get confronted with having to explain yourself for it. A very personal example is my own full back tattoo. I got this when I was about 17, and I had a meaning attached to it that would later become the bane of its existence. Because I changed. My life changed, my worldview and my relationships changed. And thus this tattoo became a reminder of a value I don't represent anymore. Nowadays I'm a bit more relaxed towards it, and I can see it as part of the ever-changing nature of life in general, and of me in particular. It's almost funny in some way because it's actually unfinished and always will be, which again holds a lot of meaning. But the regret sometimes still kicks in, and I wish I had spent all that time and money and physical pain for something that was just beautiful. Another good reason to just go with your gut is that the enforcement of meaning can actually hinder quality. I personally feel a lot of pressure from this need for significance in artworks in general, not just tattoos. I would even take it so far to say that it has diminished the joy that comes with creating for me, since this constant forcing of symbols into something that is already meaningful just due to the beauty it provides is suffocating and sobering. And for me, it always has slowed down my artistic process enormously, or even led to something less visually pleasing. And sure, a lot of this pressure is self-imposed, but my background in traditional fine art has made me believe that explaining your artwork is just part of the deal. Every painting in a gallery has its neat little badge on the side, and not having anything to say about what you created would almost feel frowned upon. But isn't beauty already enough of a reason for a painter to create and for a painting to exist? I think it does, and I'm actually working hard on reversing the damage this preconceived notion has done to my personal work. Unfortunately, I haven't been fully successful yet. It seems a bit like we lost the value for visually pleasing things in the wake of the Second World War, when everything just had to be practical and cheap and easy to build. At least in Germany, in form of my childhood memory, the lovely Plattenbau. I get the idea of optimized production. It was direly needed back then. But why does this have to taint the beauty of artistry as a whole? For me, this is saddening and takes all the fun out of something that is meant to lighten the mood in an otherwise hectic and unforgiving world. And again, I'm not saying that one approach has more merit than the other. Louis Sullivan's idea that form follows function has its valuable use in many cases. But I personally think that the lack of function or meaning shouldn't automatically devalue purely aesthetic works in return. So take the pressure out of getting a tattoo. You might want to get a tattoo to commemorate a loved one, but you struggle to find a design that would be appropriate. After all, you want that symbol or phrase to capture the essence of their being, and thus you might feel like you are not doing justice to their memory by not picking the most elaborate symbol. But don't forget that the act of getting a tattoo in honor of someone is an incredibly meaningful gesture in and of itself. Believing that a tattoo must hold a specific meaning can be intimidating for people who want to get one but don't necessarily have a story to tell. But in my opinion, inspired artwork requires no explanation. It's a language in and of itself, and the meaning behind it is intimate and entirely up to the individual anyway. There's no right or wrong reason to get a tattoo. It's all about celebrating your uniqueness and expressing yourself in a way that feels meaningful and authentic to yourself and not to other people. And thus, there's nothing wrong about getting them for their aesthetic value alone and to focus on their artistic and creative aspects and the sheer beauty they introduce to our lives. And besides, life has no meaning a priori. It is up to you to give it a meaning, and value is nothing but the meaning that you choose. Though it's always good practice to check in on worldwide meanings of very specific symbols. Just imagine me as a German getting a swastika tattooed on my heart. No matter how much I might try to talk my way out of it with its Sanskrit origin, I'm pretty sure I would be kicked out of my favorite breakfast place faster than I can say Eggs Benedict. So if you are considering getting a tattoo, but don't have a deep symbolic reason to do so, don't let that stop you. Embrace your individuality and express yourself in a way that feels true to who you are. A tattoo's function is already accomplished by just sitting on your skin. Enjoy life as decorated as you see fit. It's yours alone to live, and it's also yours alone to always stay curious about. Thanks for watching. If you appreciate me talking, consider to like and subscribe. I might not post every week, since life keeps me on my toes quite a bit, but I will be back eventually.